But today we're going to be discussing a topic that affects thousands of South Africans, and the topic that we're going to be chatting about is what do you do with your property when you reach retirement? And for many people over 60, their homes are their biggest assets, aren't they? But should they stay? Should they downsize? Should they rent? Should they move closer to family? Or perhaps invest differently? So I'm going to ask you to unpack all of this for us this afternoon, and tell us what does one do when they reach this age and they have property of value.
Absolutely. As you said, once people reach retirement age, that property investment or the property that you either have or that you're going to have becomes really, really important. Because, the stats are showing that we are living longer. That means we have longer to live after retirement, and we need more money to retire, as well as that the money that we have must last for, who knows how long, because we don't exactly always know when we're going to go.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure that we're taking care of that. So this all actually comes down to a financial planning decision. But, the interesting thing is as our population ages, so now there's more and more people are now in that retirement zone. And we're using 60 just as a benchmark.
Yes.
But a lot of people obviously continue working after that. But if you are 60, you're 1 in 10 people in the country who's reached that milestone for now. And the interesting thing is at this stage, 60 plus year olds are controlling about 50% of the residential property market. So, it's 10% of the of the buyers or the owners are controlling over 50% of the property. So it's
quite an interesting state.
That's not something that we always know.
Yeah. And like you said, people are living a hell of a lot longer. What are you seeing from clients over the age of 60?
So, there's a general sort of idea that people want to downsize. So when one thinks retirement, you think downsizing, you think more sectional title, more security, and an increased interest in, retirement estates. But there's actually some stats out there that are saying that people over 60 hold on to their properties longer, especially if it's a freestanding property, because, again, the stats are showing that outside of retirement estates, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a moment, but about 80% of the properties that the 60-plussers are holding on to are freestanding properties. I think that gives you more flexibility when it comes to maybe making some changes that's going to suit a retired person, the bathrooms, the showers, maybe settling down to a floor, as well as taking on family. At some point, older people need to be cared for as well.
Yeah.
And when last did you check out the price of a care facility? If it's, it's crazy. It's really, really expensive. If you're on a limited budget and you already have a home that's paid off, because normally that's what happens once, after the age of 60, your home is paid off. So you don't have those bond repayments anymore, but generally not a lot of other disposable income. So that's what we're seeing. People are holding onto those homes, and they really are affecting and influencing a very large part of the property market.
So are pensioners selling or buying more? Which one of the two are they doing more of?
So, and the answer is simply, it's definitely still both. And when they are selling, they generally are selling to buy somewhere else or something else. So that sale is affecting two property transactions effectively. So they are selling those who want to, especially who want to move, or whose homes are now no longer suitable to meet their retirement needs. And as we say, when you sell this home, you're buying something else. So, for guys like us who are in the property business, there's two potential sales hanging on that transaction or on that person's decision.
Yes. Now, just to veer off script, because I know that my parents did this. As soon as all the kids move out of house and home, they obviously live in their big family home, and there comes a time where they feel like it's just way too big for them, and they downsize. And once they've downsized, they look at their option that they had made, or they look at the result of decisions made and go, maybe we should have held on to the bigger property. Are you seeing a lot of that?
So absolutely, that's definitely one of the potential mistakes that guys are making is they're selling that nostalgic family home,
Yeah.
and then they're finding what they've bought or where they've moved to is now actually no longer any good, especially if they've moved away to the coast and the family's still up here in Joburg, or up in Gauteng.
Yeah.
They've moved away, not fitting in, things are difficult, and then there's a lot of regret. So, as when we started off and we spoke about retirement, I think the most important, most fundamental thing about retirement is the affordability of retirement. And do you have enough funds to retire? Because that's vital. And going with that is the planning. So if you are going to make a decision around moving, selling, downsizing, and often that downsizing may be buying a smaller or more suitable property, but it's not necessarily buying a cheaper property.
Yeah.
And they come obviously with other costs.
Now, I suppose the big question is, should I stay or should I go? In the words of The Clash. And if you are one that has a big property like that, do you rent it out and make enough money to pay your rent somewhere else and have a little bit of that rent that you've made go back into your retirement annuity or into a savings of some kind? Or what do you do with the property?
Only, in my opinion, only if that rent is not money that you absolutely have to rely on, because renting comes with its own pitfalls and its own risks, right?
Yeah.
If you are absolutely relying on that rent to pay your next bond or rent where you've retired, and your tenant doesn't pay that rent to you on time, and unfortunately we see that quite a lot in our business that deals with a lot of rentals, then suddenly you are in trouble. So my advice would be only rent that property if you don't actually need the money, and because selling right now might not be the best decision for you.
Yeah.
Because we do see that there are a lot of bigger homes in the suburbs on the market, and not necessarily from people retiring, but also the semigration issue we spoke about a few weeks ago. So rent your house only if you don't actually need that money, and then add it to your retirement pot.
Now, I would imagine that a lot of things would influence whether or not you want to sell your house. I would imagine there's a lot of emotion there. It's all about families growing up in that house, etc., etc. Are you seeing a lot of that?
Absolutely. I think that retirement decision, or the decision to move, is often very much affected by that. And also not only the emotion and the family and the kids grew up there and your grandkids are now visiting you there. It's also about what is this particular home costing you? What are the maintenance costs? Is it well maintained? Is it under maintained? And are you going to expect a lot of additional costs going forward? What are the current monthly costs? Rates, taxes, levies, these things all mount up, and the city of Joburg has not been kind to property owners with regards to the massive annual escalations in your rates and taxes. Are there other costs? Do you have a fleet of domestic staff and garden services that you need to take care of? Or is it possible to trim those monthly costs when you move forward? Is the home suitable for you? If there are a lot of stairs now and you can still do these stairs when you're 60, 65, 70, or you're going to be able to do them when you're 80 and 85. So these are all the decisions that you need to make. So I think one of the key aspects here is planning ahead and thinking ahead to, when you become less mobile, is this home still going to suit you? Because I think what we are definitely seeing is older people don't want to be moving every 2, 3 or 5 years. You want to make a decision while you still can move.
Yeah.
And if your decision is to stay, then rather adapt your home to your circumstances now and what they may be required in the future.
What are the common mistakes that retirees make?
I think the first and the biggest one is not planning, not deciding, not thinking this through carefully, and then suddenly there's a crisis and you're forced to move. And those crises could be illness, it could be the loss of your spouse. there could be real financial pressure if things, your investments haven't worked out. So, rather move when you're able to, if you have to, as we've just said. So don't wait, number one, for that crisis to happen. Plan ahead.
Yeah. Any other mistakes that people will make?
Generally, when they do, if they have decided to move and they have moved down to the coast, for example, from Gauteng, from Joburg, they haven't looked at that option fully and significantly. In the immigration thing we spoke about, if it's possible, rent first before you buy when you get there. Check it out properly. Moving is very expensive, and buying and selling houses is also very expensive. So, and when you go down, don't overcapitalize. Again, this is all about, as we said right at the beginning, this is about financial planning 101 for the last glory years of your life. So make sure you do that correctly. Don't overspend.
Is it a good idea to buy a cheaper home? I've got this house that I reckon is worth 6 million. I see a house worth 3 million that suits me to the ground. Is it a good idea to throw everything into the basket and go for the 3 million rand house?
Again, it's going to depend on if that's part of your plan. And a cheaper house now, in terms of capital cost that you're spending, is not necessarily going to be cheaper in terms of your month-to-month rates and taxes levy. If this is in a retirement community with very high levies and a very nice upcoming special levy that you're not aware of in the next 6 months, then suddenly the money that you've saved, you end up spending on a lot of other things. Or if there's a lot of renovations, if it's a freestanding home that you need to make changes to suit yourself. So it could be, wise to save that capex, because that's where a lot of retired people's assets lies, in the value of that property, which you can't get unless you sell the property.
Yeah.
But just be careful and take it with open eyes, and consult with your family if you have kids, especially when they're in business and they understand these things. Consult with them, because it affects their lives down the line as well.
And people that buy, do they buy purely on emotion? Do they buy on probably trying to save a buck? How are these people buying? Is there a mistake that you could make in that?
There is, especially if you are moving down to the coast, you can quickly get overrun by the emotion of, you see this idyllic seaside retreat, and that's where you want to go and live.
Yeah, yeah.
And you go there in good weather, and suddenly you get there and the weather's not so great, and you've made an emotional decision quickly to move down there. If it's not part of that long-term plan, then just think about it carefully. Are there medical facilities? Because sometimes these very small, either very rural towns that are not even on the coast, that are also popular for retirement, or in the very small little villages, don't have proper medical facilities, proper shopping facilities, specialist doctors and all that kind of thing, and you end up traveling forever to get there. So just think about it carefully. Again, let it form part of your long-term retirement planning, and not something that you do at the drop of a hat all of a sudden.
So what do the numbers and the stats tell us then? Because obviously you've gone through all of that, and you're going to share that.
Some very interesting stuff popped up in the research that I did before I came in. Yeah. And as I said, one of those is that older homeowners, 60% plus, generally stay in their homes a lot longer than younger buyers. Younger families moving up, changing as the family grows. The stats show that older homeowners, retired people, generally stay longer. And also, retirement estates, we spoke about that earlier, is very much in short supply. And for every unit that's in a retirement development, there are 30 units owned by people at the age of 60 outside a retirement unit. So only 1 in 30 are in an actual retirement unit. And often, if there is a desirable retirement complex, there are long waiting lists of people to get in.
And sometimes it costs an arm and a leg.
And it's very expensive, And these days, the retirement units, especially down in the Cape, are absolutely fantastic, because they have all the facilities, restaurants, shops, entertainment areas, little sports, walking areas, gardens, everything that you can think of. But they are very expensive.
I can imagine.
So look at that.
Yeah.
Another interesting stat was, even though secure estates and sectional title developments continue to grow and the demand increases, currently, of the people over 60 living outside of retirement areas, over 80%, and this is what I mentioned earlier, are still in freestanding homes.
Wow.
And only 20% are in sectional title or gated estate living. So it shows you that there's still a lot of older people who prefer their big homes in the suburb. It doesn't mean that the demand for the security estates is not there. It is there, and maybe that's why it's growing to that extent, is because so many people are still in their bigger homes. But we are seeing that buyers are increasingly prioritizing security and healthcare and also convenience over house size. So that's why we said, downsizing. We're talking about house size here and not necessarily pricing, because stats also show that people over 60 are still buying the more expensive homes. And also the way for retirees to release their equity is actually to sell that bigger home in the suburbs. But obviously family support and proximity to your kids, your grandkids is really, really important, because I think one of the biggest problems that older people and retirees, especially when one of the spouses pass away, find is that it's loneliness, especially when they've decided to move far away, and the family can only come down once or twice a year down to the coast.
Yeah.
Also, another interesting stat, and that according to FNB, retirement is the one lifestyle change that currently accounts for 21% of all property sales.
Jeez.
So, people making the choice to retire and move has quite a significant impact on the sales market that we sometimes discard and don't think about it. And, as we said, mature homeowners, people who own their own properties at the age of 60 and plus, generally don't have bonds, so they are more secure in the market and don't get affected by changes of interest rate when their bonds are paid off. Obviously, month-to-month costs and the City of Joburg's rates and taxes, those things do affect them.
So what advice do you have for pensioners that are in the market?
Yeah, the first thing, and as we've said before, plan ahead. Don't just at the drop of a hat decide to move. Try and look at this when you are approaching retirement to make the decisions that you're going to stand by in 5, 10, 15 years' time. And, think about the lifestyle that you need before you think about the square meters that you are going to buy. And understand and know what your monthly costs are, know what you can afford if you've retired properly. And I think stats are showing that only 3 or 4% of every person retiring in South Africa today can actually afford to retire, to stop working, go on pension, and retire properly. I mean, that means 95%, let's round it, of people still need or relying on an income or relying on their kids for financial support. Stay close to the healthcare centers, because, hey, I'm flipping rushing towards the 60 plus at alarming speed, and suddenly all the little health things start kicking in, and we're not as young and fit as we were when we were younger.
Yeah.
So yeah, and family is so important. Don't rush to move away from your family.
So just give us a wrap up of everything that we've discussed this afternoon.
So, your property, especially on retirement, is not only about buying and selling. You need to think about creating the lifestyle that's going to suit you in your old age. You're going to think about the property type that's going to suit you in your old age, and what's really going to make you happy. And you've got to think about the changes potentially that are going to happen to your health, to your spouse, and set yourself up, plan and prepare as best as you can for that. The right choices today and some wise planning can make your retirement significantly more comfortable tomorrow.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you for all of that advice. And now my favorite time or favorite part of this discussion this afternoon is finding out what our property of the week is. And we say a very good afternoon to Nadine Myberg, who has joined us live on the telephone. A very good afternoon to you, Nadine. How are you?
Hi, all good. Thanks, Alan. You?
Fantastic, thank you. The property of the week today. Excite me.
All right, this is a real gem. It's a stylish two-bedroom, two-bathroom loft apartment in the highly sought after the Canyon Estate. It's perfectly positioned on the borders of Sunninghill and Paulshof. The stunning modern 150 square meter home offers good sized bedrooms, contemporary bathrooms, and sleek open plan kitchen and living area. But what truly sets this apartment apart is the expansive loft area, a wonderful space that is perfect for a second lounge, TV room, entertainment area, as well as a home office. And that's not all. We have two private balconies with fantastic views overlooking the Yxkay River. This is a home truly offers space and lifestyle. This estate offers an exceptional facilities, including fully equipped gym, clubhouse, squash courts, two swimming pools, and an on-site creche.
Very nice. And then, of course, there's a price tag. So share with us, please, Nadine. What are we looking at for this property that sounds absolutely amazing?
This property is only going for 1.55 million.
Wow, that is
it really is a nice,
very affordable.
It really is a stunning complex. Yeah.
Now, if people want to get hold of you, Nadine, how do they get a hold of you? How do they come and check out that property, and or make a booking to come and check that property, or can they check it online? Give us all the details, please.
Yes, they can look online under the Etchells and Young property website. They can contact myself on 083 357 3190, and we can arrange for a viewing.
Fantastic, Nadine. Thank you very much for having a chat with us this afternoon, and look forward to chatting with you again.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Have a good afternoon.
You too. Cheers now. Bye-bye. So there we have it. As always, if you're buying, selling, renting, or investing property, you need, or if you need professional guidance, speak to the team at Etchells and Young Property Brokers. Harry, thank you very much for making the time and having a chat with us this afternoon. And we'll have a chat again next week, same time, same place.
Fantastic. Thanks all very much once again.
Lovely. Cheers now.
Feel the music. Feel the joy. 911